Hello, welcome. This is week 9 and 10 of the Unconventional Man. I hope you guys are as excited as I am to come to the end to finish. Journeys are special things, but finishing, even though there's really no finish line in terms of what you're trying to do, create with your mind, body, having these endpoints of learning and letting them get deep and taking it to the next level, that is such an important thing and something that really should be celebrated. So, before we get into this lesson, before we close it out, I want to make sure you guys do whatever it takes to move what we talked about deeper inside you, inside your fibers. The objective from the beginning was to teach you a set of skills that would help you retain and improve your mobility, balance, flexibility, just the ease of which your body moves. That's been scoop, perch, cinch, and pinch. Um, for this work to continue to benefit you, you've got to continue to practice. Even if it's just a weekly basis, you've got to continue to practice around the concept of your ideal and how to really always push for the best shape possible. There's no end to your ability to improve the shape. And then you've got to learn to take the skills and carry them with you off of the mat. In other products I'm going to put out, we'll talk about that, whether it's your strength training, whether it's your athletic training, whether it's your dancing, whether it's your lovemaking, scoop, perch, cinch, pinch, your posture, how you control and move your body is an integral part of everything you guys want to do going forward. So continue to practice, continue to grow. That's how you'll drill it in deeper. So be intentional in your closing out in the learning of these things. Make sure you allow these things to get deeper in. And you can see I have questions on here for you to ask yourself. And as you ask yourself these questions, the answers will help you get to that level you want to get to. The habits that I want to instill for you guys that I want you to hold on to is continually coming back to that vision you created of what your mind body can look like, feel like, be like. It all of that starts from the inside, your acceptance that you have the mental capacity, the mental domain over the entire mind body, and that therefore you get to build it however you want. And so the vision and the concentration of that is a really big part of it. And that's a lot what the life loop, the your perfect week was about, helping you drill the vision into action. Your path, that's your perfect week. Um, you got to think about it, do it. Think about it, do it. Think about it, do it. Just be consistent in your pattern of action and be consistent in your pattern of practice. And that is a guaranteed method to sharpen the saw. And then just trust yourself, forgive yourself. You're going to make mistakes, keep moving forward. You guys are going to be awesome. Okay, so week 9, the breathing skill was about how to continue to expand your lungs. Um, the deeper you get into practicing mind body things, the more you realize that um, breathing and moving, the more you synchronize those things together, the more effective, efficient, and honestly enjoying moving becomes. So, take the challenge of learning how to get the chest cavity, the diaphragm as big and strong as you can, and just continue to work and grow in that space. Week 10 was about, um, after you have spent your time breathing, you feel like you're getting better, at the end of a breathing exercise session, you probably feel a little tired. You probably feel like you just want to sit there and rest. And that's the space where meditation happens and takes place. And so, at this point, because we haven't really talked about meditation itself, like I said in the video, it's like, we've walked, along the path, and now we're sitting at the end of the beach. And, the breath is the sound of the waves. And it is a very good habit for you to practice sitting, listening to the sound of your own waves and just letting whatever thoughts happen float by just as they would a piece of driftwood on the waves. It's just a good practice to do. Okay, so let's get into our moving. So in our stretching, we did seated twisting. And so, we spent a lot of time talking about the lines of the body and how they help, your chest and your shoulders affect one another. The reason Pilates is taught on the mat is because it is the easiest position in space for you to hold your spine in a neutral, tall position while moving your limbs. It's easier than doing it standing up. So seated twists are they are different versions of standing one-legged exercises. Maybe that'll help you guys see what I'm saying. And so what I did to try to get this point across is I picked pictures of some stretches that, they're all done on your back. And I think all of these are things you can try. But you can, if you think about it, imagine all of these positions happening standing on your feet. And, while the position, you can definitely see how it would be easier to achieve lying down. So I'm saying that because when you're doing any of these seated twists, you can't forget your perch, your cinch, and your pinch. You can't forget that the shape of your spine is part of what you are moving and working through. So yeah, and that connection is so important. Oh. That connection of your knee coming to your armpit, like in single leg stretch, double leg stretch, if you view it as a version of you improving your running gait or your walking gait, then you'll really understand, as we're in that position and you perch and you scoop and you try to get your spine longer, try to take that action with you when you walk and run in real life. Ultimately what we're trying to do with these skills is help them have a greater effect. And so the pictures I picked here help you see how that flexion of the hip and the shoulder and the running, all of that's connected. And so by practicing, you're improving your ability to do all of those things. Week 10's stretch was about a prone bridge. Now, prone bridging is one of the most, it is the easiest way to really open up your hips. And so, okay, what I've done here is kind of given you a selection of pictures to see how the different muscles that we play with in terms of that, the proper term is extension of the spine. So picture number one, that's like a Superman or a flying position. And you can see, as he reaches his arms and shoulders back, and that the lower back and all those muscles are moving. Yes. And so that's probably the easiest version of the prone bridges that we have here. Now I want you to imagine that picture done vertically, as in picture number two. So picture number two is a one-legged prone bridge, but I flipped it vertically so you can see that, hey, wait a minute, that looks like somebody's just walking forward and backwards. The biggest difference is how being on the floor forces your spine into this erect, scooping type position, right? So that is the big thing I want you guys to focus on playing with as you improve your prone bridging. You got to keep scooping your belly button in to make the spine, the lumbar spine, the lower back as long as you can. And then you're going to get the bend in your body from cinching the ribs together and pinching the shoulder blades back and growing through the top of your head. Okay, that's how you're going to work the torso. In terms of the legs, honestly, it works the same way as it does with all of the stretching. Like, you got to squeeze your legs to the center line to allow the proper alignment and strength. Okay, you can't let your elbows pop out to your knees pop out too far. Because it's that unevenness that we talk about. Your center line is your pelvic floor, it is your core, and it is the most proper way to get the range. Yes. So all of these are different versions of the stretch that you can play with. And in picture number 3 is a strength exercise version. Actually, when I use that bench, that's the low back bench, I actually go the other way and put my face the opposite way and turn it actually into an extension machine. So that's something you guys can try when you're at the gym. Okay, so our rolling section. So these are the same pictures we used last week when we talked about rolling the chest and the biceps. And so since we're talking about the neck and the traps and the triceps here, with the same pictures, like the most important thing for you guys to do with rolling is practice it. But having this visual of where the muscle lines run will help give you a trail, a roadmap of how to work your roller through your body and what lines you're pulling on. This last one, rolling the forearms and hands. So you've got to start. You got to start inside. So like scooping and perching, cinching and pinching, and you'll literally grow in that order. So as you get better with your torso and more able to stretch your arms and your legs to straight, that's when you're really going to start to feel that some of the tension is left in the hands and the forearms. Okay. And so the exercises that will help you open up your hands, wrists, and forearms, and in Pilates, what that means is strengthen and balance. Okay, it doesn't necessarily mean just get the weak spots. It means or just get the tight spots. It means get the weak spots too. So when you're doing leg pull front, leg pull back, side bend, push up, all of the exercises that require you to ground yourself with your hands, and remember your hand position, it's got to be like that, right? And so being able to get it like that when it's like vertical. Okay, so what you're gonna find as you keep your fingers together, these are Pilates hands, is that the thumb's gonna want to separate, and that's going to force a connection from the thumb through the top of the forearm, and as the pinky wants to separate, that's going to come through the side of the pinky side of the forearm into the elbow. Okay, and so being able to hold your fingers in place as you press to lock out into those, that's what's going to start to like get the deeper muscles, the rotating, because your forearms are pulling and rotating to squeeze themselves forward. I think at this point, if you would only roll your hands once or twice a month even, that would be a good start. But just don't forget about the rolling of the hands and the forearms. If it feels good, honestly, once a week is the more ideal situation. But I know that this part tends to get forgotten. So I'm here to remind you guys not to forget. Sorry, it's time to pick up my son. Okay, the Pilates workshop. So your exercises in this section, well, I think the ones, I know the exercises in week 10 are challenging. And honestly, the movements kind of come in layers. Like once you are starting to get good at the movements in week 9, that's when week 10 will seem like something possible. In the beginning, it may just feel like you're walking through the motions, just doing your best. And honestly, that is okay. The biggest one that I want to focus on, I want you guys to focus on getting great at are the movements in the side position. So whether that's side kick series, side bend, kneeling side kick, all of those. So in the last slide, I talked about the hands, and the hands in all of the side kicks are really, really important. So just recognize that in the side positions, when your hand is on the floor, what you are opening up and strengthening is your wrist, your elbow, and your shoulder. So you've got to get that reached away from you as long as you can, and you've got to hold that length. That's where the stretch is, not in the hips. Okay, the hips will come from you scooping and pulling your center line straight, and you're pulling. So really what you're doing is getting your scoop and your center line to open up your arm in the side bend series. So don't lose it on that one. Okay, in the side kick series, honestly, side kick over time has become one of my favorites. It is hard, and I still feel like I struggle to get my lines. However, so in this picture, you can see how the spiral lines and your core really connect. So when you think about your body moving in action, even though we like to work the muscles we see in the front and we talk about the muscles in the back, truthfully, propelling yourself is a lot about rotation or locomotion. The side kick series really is the thing that brings the upper and the lower together. Okay, and so grounding comes first. You really got to focus on pressing that bottom leg into the floor and letting the push of the bottom leg lift you up out of the posture. That's the biggest thing I can say is you anchor the more you get better at anchoring the bottom leg, the more ability you'll have to control the top leg. And also that's when you'll start to feel the growth inside your hips and your core. Side kick series for guys really does take a long time to get good at because hips are one of our tightest areas. Okay, in wrapping up, I want to make sure you guys get a good, clean view of the muscles of the center line. These are your adductors by nature is what they call them. We already know that that center line goes right up the back line, right up the deep front line. But your long-term strength, ability to balance everything out really comes down to how strong your central line is in comparison to everything else. Because every other part of the body has to work off of that central line. And so if that is weak, nothing else can express itself fully. Yes, I've said that before, so I'm sure you understand that. Gentlemen, this is the final lecture. I truly hope you enjoyed and learned a lot, and that I see you a year from now and you can share with me the stories of how your weekly practice of Pilates has helped you transform your life into something very unconventional. Until then, thank you so much and continue your awesome.